You ever walk into a place thinking you know exactly how the day's gonna goonly to find out you were dead wrong? Yeah, that's what happened in the county courthouse that Tuesday morning. Let me tell you, it started off looking like business as usual, but by the end, everybody in that courtroom was questioning everything they thought they knew about power, respect, and what justice is supposed to look like in America. So, picture Thesa black woman steps into that old courthouse, not wearing a badge on her belt or a uniform, just simple civilian clothes, head held high, calm as can be. You know the look, like she owns her story, not flashy, just present. But as soon as she crosses that threshold, the whispers start sideways glances, folks nudging each other, sizing her up like she's out of place. The thing is, in a courtroom where tradition is everything, nobody expects to see a black woman walk in and own the room, especially not without the armor of a badge in plain sight. It's like folks made up their minds about her before she even spoke a word. Now, you know how at ICE assumptions come faster than facts, especially in places like this. There's a white officer, been there for years, thinks he's got everyone pegged, sees her, doesn't bother asking who she is or why she's there. He just barrels right over, attitude cranked to 11. You can feel the air tighten up. Instead of, "Good morning, ma'am, can I help you?" It's, "You're not supposed to be here, let's go." And he puts his hands on her right there, in front of God, and everybody starts dragging her toward the exit like she's a problem to be handled. I swear, you could hear the silence. Nobody stepped in, not the other deputies, not the clerks, not even the judge. It's like watching a car wreck in slow motion, and everyone's pretending they don't see it. Let me back up a sec. This isn't the first time stuff like this has happened. It's not even rare. The difference today? The woman kept her composure. She didn't yell, didn't fight back, just stood there, taking the humiliation, steady and quiet. I'm telling you, that kind of silence has its own power. You could see in her eyes she wasn't scared. She was waiting. Meanwhile, the officer is thinking he's in the right, flexing authority he hasn't earned. And the room just sits, letting it play out, which honestly says as much as the officer's actions. You know what I mean? But here's where the story flips. Just as he's about to shove her out the door, she says in this calm, clear voice, "Let go of my arm." He stops, confused, and that's when she pulls out her badge, holds it up for everyone as she turns out. She's the new county sheriff. Yeah, the top cop. Not just some visitor or random defendant. She outranks every single law enforcement officer in that room, including the one with his hand on her arm. You want to talk about a plot twist? The whole place freezes. That officer's face goes from tough guy to straight up panic, like he just realized he's been playing checkers and she's playing chess. The mood in the courtroom changes so fast, it gives you whiplash. Now, instead of whispers about her, people are whispering about him. The judge, the staff, the other officers, they all know what just happened, and nobody can pretend they didn't see it. The very system that let him act out of prejudice is now on display for everyone to judge. For a minute there, nobody knows what to say. That's the thing about truth, it doesn't need a shout to be heard. And it's not just about this one guy messing up. Her badge is more than just metal and leather. It's a reality check for a room full of people who thought they could judge someone's worth at a glance. She didn't have to raise her voice or throw a punch, just stood tall, made her presence known, and the whole power dynamic flipped. Suddenly, it's the officer answering questions, not her. She's not just demanding respect for herself, she's demanding it for everybody who's ever been sidelined, talked over, or pushed aside because of the way they look. Here comes the twist you didn't see coming. Turns out, sitting in the back row was an old deputy, retired but sharp as ever, who used to train half the people in that building, including the officer who just embarrassed himself. He stands up, voice shaking but steady, and tells the court he's ashamed of what he just saw, that things used to be different to her, at least he thought they were. We're supposed to protect and serve, not profile and punish, he says, and for the first time, the courtrooms start to feel like a real community again, one willing to admit it has a problem. After that, things move fast. Internal affairs swoops in, and the officer is put on leave before lunch. But it doesn't end there. Word gets out, video clips start hitting social media, and you better believe people have something to say. Protests, editorials, demands for accountability. It's like the whole town wakes up at once. And the sheriff, she doesn't shrink from the spotlight. She faces the cameras, talks about what happened, but she doesn't make it about revenge. She's all about reform, real training, real consequences for misconduct, real transparency. And you can feel the city shifting, inch by inch, towards something better. Meanwhile, the officer, well, his days of swaggering around the courthouse are over. He's suspended, under investigation, and if there's any justice, he'll face charges. But more than that, his story becomes a warning to anyone who thinks their badge makes them untouchable. People start asking bigger questions. How many times has something like this happened and nobody said a word? Who gets to decide what justice looks like? I gotta say, it's not every day you see power get handed back to the people who deserve it. This wasn't just one woman standing up for herself. It was about everyone who's ever been dismissed, doubted, or disrespected. Her silence, her patience, her refusal to back down, that's what courage looks like. And the community, watching, learned that real leadership isn't loud or brash, it's steady, honest, and willing to shake up the status quo, no matter who gets uncomfortable. The best part? That last scene, she stands on the courthouse steps, crowd buzzing all around, reporters firing questions, protest signs waving, and she looks straight ahead, not just at the cameras, but at every kid who might see themselves in her someday. She says, "Justice is what we do when nobody's watching." Now, everybody's watching, so what are we going to do next? And the answer's not simple. The crowd starts to argue. Some folks want harsher punishments. Some call for bigger reforms. Some say the whole system's broken beyond fixing. But that's the point. Real change starts when the conversation gets messy. So what do you think, really? Is justice about one person making a stand, or a community finally finding its voice? Have you ever seen power shift right before your eyes? Drop a comment below, share your own story, because if there's ever going to be real justice, it's going to take all of us.